Chapter 5. Naomi. After 2 weeks at home, I still felt no more knowledgeable about construction procurement and contract law. I sat on my bed, my legs crossed under me, textbooks and folders scattered everywhere. I hugged a cushion to my stomach as my gaze wandered around my room. The grey and lilac decor, the white daybed, the grey duvet cover complete with a big white daisy, and the pillows around the bed frame all did their best to soothe me, but did nothing for my study focus. I looked out the window at the back garden and the trees that separated it from the campsite. Why was I struggling so much? Throwing myself back on my bed, my legs still crossed in front, I put the cushion over my face and screamed into it. Maybe a mug of tea would help me focus. Forcing myself to leave the safety of my room, I wandered down to the kitchen, never sure who I might encounter in the house. I assumed Lewis was staying in the staff caravan, although he seemed to be spending as much time at our house as the campsite. With every encounter, he managed to wind me up. We hadn't been in the same shift since last week, but between meal times at my house and bumping into each other around Eden Cove, not a day went by without Lewis featuring somewhere. Downstairs was blissfully free of boys, whether belonging to the family or other. The only other person in the house was Gran. She paused her knitting needles as I walked over and pecked her on the cheek. "Morning, Gran. How are you feeling this morning? Can I get you anything?" Gran's smiles are the best. They light up her face, letting you know she is genuinely glad to spend time with you. "I'm great, thank you, and if you're making yourself one, I'd love a cup of tea." That's exactly what I was about to do. "Would you like a slice of toast too?" She nodded. With her knitting placed on the table beside her, she gave me her full attention as we ate our toast and drank our tea. "What are your plans for today, Naomi?" "I don't know." I took another bite of toast, trying to distract myself from my self-pity. I tried to study before I came downstairs, but the only thing I achieved was reading the same page 5 times. I've no idea what it said. Gran tutted. "Naomi, you can't expect to learn anything on an empty stomach." "I guess I've proven that this morning." I sighed and placed my slice of toast back on the plate. Gran has a way of looking at me that makes me feel she can read my mind, that she knows exactly what I'm thinking and feeling. There was nowhere to hide. I took a deep breath and prepared to share my fears. "I'm struggling with motivation, Gran. I love my degree, but this last term has been hard, and I'm worried I've lost my love of studying and my dreams for my career." "You're not lost, and neither are your dreams." She paused to sip her tea. "Sometimes we need a rest and time to remember who we are." "How can I rest when this exam is blocking my way? It all feels too much, Gran. And it's not just feeling an exam, it's sharing mum with a field of strangers and having random people sitting at your dinner table. It's all too much." Instead of replying, Gran reached her arm over my shoulders and sat in silence, holding me. My body slumped into her, the pain of built-up tension burning across my shoulders and neck. I leaned into the comfort of her hug and sobbed again. As my tears subsided, she stroked my arm. "Do you know what I do when I feel overwhelmed?" I wiped my tears as I shook my head. Gran continued. "I think about something I can be grateful for." I blew an errant strand of hair away from my face, struggling to think of things to be thankful for. "I don't know where to start," I admitted. "You're worried about your exam, and that is something that causes many an anxious moment, understandably so. But you could be thankful for passing the other exams, or you could be thankful for some things you've learned with studying." I grimaced, not sure I was catching on to the thankfulness for my course while stressing about my exam. "What was your next thing?" asked Gran. "The campsite." I nervously waited for Gran's response. Breaking my grievances down was making them seem self-indulgent. Gran nodded. "I know you've struggled with this over the years, but you can be grateful that the campsite brought you to Eden Cove." Gran smiled. And as for the random dinner guests, she chuckled, we both prefer the quiet life. But as the one introvert in your family, I fear this is always going to be a challenge. But we can be grateful we have enough food to share with others. I'm not sure I was convinced by Gran's list of thankfulness, but I got what she was trying to do. I would need to think about it some more. She retrieved her arm from my shoulder and picked up her knitting. I watched her needles as they worked, the fine cream wool becoming a beautiful baby hat. Enjoy this summer, Naomi. Treat it as a gift. Be still and feel the love of God and your family. It's weeks until your resit, enough time for both studying and relaxing. Don't fret about the exam. Focus on finding joy and things to be thankful for each day. Gran grinned at me. Now get your knitting and let's knit another baby hat each. And while you're knitting, you can figure out what to do with your day. While we worked, I considered Gran's words. She was right, of course, but how could I put her wisdom into practice? Could I find the thankfulness in the 6 weeks that stretched out endlessly before me? It was plenty of time to study, and too much time to study. I couldn't spend my whole summer studying for one exam, but nor could I fully relax knowing an exam was looming. How was I supposed to balance studying, working, and having fun? Working was the easiest part to deal with. Mum scheduled me for 4 shifts a week. Did it make sense to only study on the days I worked? Maybe. That left 3 days a week to enjoy my summer break. I sighed. If only I had passed that exam. Gran tutted and looked over at me. She was watching me. Take your time, Naomi. You've just dropped a stitch. The babies need hats created with care. Sorry, Gran, I shrugged. I guess my thoughts are getting the better of me. Maybe I should take a day off, although Ellen's not around today. I'm sure you're able to think of things to do on your own. Why not spend the afternoon at the beach with a good book? Great idea. With my plan for the day decided, I concentrated on knitting. In the afternoon, I walked on to an almost deserted beach. The cloud cover and strengthening wind chasing most people indoors or inland. Taking my old beach towel out of my bag, I shook it out and settled down. I clutched my book to my chest as I sat for a moment, taking in the scene. Gran was right. I needed to make the most of the time I had this summer. Nothing reminded you of your place in the world more than gazing out to sea. Feeling the strength of the wind coming over the water, watching the waves rise and crash, observing gulls struggle against the wind, squawking to each other. I took a deep breath, savouring the salty sea air. Taking one of the hair baubles wrapped around my wrist, I pulled my hair back into a messy bun, protecting it from the effects of the gathering wind. It was strangely peaceful watching the weather's impact on the sea. No matter the weather, life continued. The winds and the waves continued. A small boat bobbed in the water, rocked by the waves, but staying in place, held by its anchor. I leaned back on my elbows and lifted my face to the sky, watching the dark grey clouds speed across the sky, running with the wind. After a few minutes, I turned my attention to my book and lost myself in my latest cosy mystery read. Several chapters later, noise from further along the beach distracted me from my story. A crowd of boys ran onto the beach, jumping on each other's backs, shouting and laughing. Of course, Joshua and his pesky friends would disturb my lovely beach time. I squinted, trying to work out who was with him, and then I noticed him. Lewis. There was no getting away from him. I continued to watch them as they unfurled kites and set them free to be buffeted by the wind. The colours of the kites stood out in bright contrast against the charcoal-coloured clouds. Dancing in the sky, the bright blues, reds and greens were mesmerising. The tails flapped in the wind, sending slapping noises along the beach. When we were little, Dad used to bring us to the beach to fly our kites. I loved my pink and white Hello Kitty kite, although I seldom got it airborne. On the rare occasions I could get it to fly to the sky, It wouldn't stay there for long before it came crashing back to my feet. Rebecca always fared much better with her pink and purple Lego Friends kite. She would race along the beach, controlling her kite as it swooped and rose. Joshua would even try to fly his kite, always desperate to get into the water and jump over the big waves that accompanied the kite winds. It's funny the snapshots you remember from the past. I can remember struggling to make my kite fly, but I can't remember how long we stayed on the beach, or how Dad kept 3 children safe when we were all running in different directions. When I looked up again, the kites were overhead. I heard a shout of, "Look out!" Then I was falling over, putting my arms up to protect my head as someone landed on me. Spitting sand out of my mouth, I lifted my face from the sand and looked into green eyes flecked with grey. Weight lifted off me, and then I was pulled to my feet, held in Lewis's arms. "Naomi, I'm so sorry. Are you okay? I was so busy trying to keep my kite from crashing down, I didn't see you." He pushed his hair back. "I guess I was the one who came crashing down rather than my kite. I'm so sorry. Are you okay?" Shrugging myself out of his hold, I brushed the sand off. Behind us, the irritating laughter of my annoying brother sounded. He would take delight in telling this story at dinner time, turning it into another excuse to make fun of me and have everyone laughing at my expense. Dealing with Joshua was frustrating. Dealing with Lewis was infuriating. But dealing with the 2 of them was an insurmountable challenge. I pulled myself up to my full height and stomped away from the laughing band of teenagers. Although I'm not sure you can call it stomping when you're walking on ever-moving sand. In the past 2 weeks, I'd had daily encounters with Lewis, and to date, none of them had gone well.